Merry meet everyone! Welcome back to Midnight Fantasy Creations. Today we will be doing a couple of candles for the Valentine season. So I have some, they're on the smaller side, nice little small molds. I kind of want to see if the difference between the pigments and the mica powders. As I'm pretty sure you can use mica powders in these, but I'm not positive, so we're going to do an experiment. Now, this one is definitely meant for the company for their resin plaster is called Resincrete, so it's supposed to be kind of like concrete, but not really. They actually have their own pigment that I picked up. So we are going to compare them to the mica powder, and then we are going to put some wax. If these actually come out okay, we're going to put some wicks in and some wax for the Valentine's Day season. So we're going to get mixed up. I'm using the Resincrete to go with the pigment. And make sure that's the right side. Okay. And I am going to do a double on so instead of doing like 3 ounces of powder to an ounce of water, I'm going to do 6 ounces of powder to 2 ounces of water, which, oh, did I get rid of the water? Now this is going to be a little difficult to do because I don't know how much is supposed to go in these. So I'm hoping I don't overmeasure. 6. 3 ounces, 2 ounces of water. There we go. And we're going to stir, and hopefully I have a mold I can just dump this in. It's not too big. We're gonna mix this up. Sorry, I was off camera. And you want to make sure you mix this up so there's no more chunks. It likes to settle at the bottom, so you definitely want to scrape the bottom. I'm hoping this will be enough to fill both these. I'm going to do the pigment first. I don't know if you need to shake these, and I haven't used these yet, so I'm going to shake them up anyways. Six. Now this is going to lighten up because of the white base. So depending on how much pigment you put in here, it depends on how dark or light this is going to be. And that is a nice, very light pink. I might want to darken this just a little bit. So how about 6 more? Six, okay. Still very light. Six more. That was 12. This is going to be 24. This stuff settles a little bit too much. That's a little bit better. Should be pretty. And we're going to pour this in and set it aside. I shouldn't have topped that off. Get this out of the way. Way too much in there, and that's going to spill. Put the lid in there, and of course, I made too much. Air out. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Can actually see all the little air pockets you're gonna have. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. Let's flick it out of there. Shutters. Oh, that worked. So this is non-toxic. I don't know how much this dye is going to stay in my fingers, though. Definitely gives it a weird texture. Okay, come on. Get out. Come on. I see you. Pop. There we go. Alright, I'm going to set this over here and pour a little bit more in. Let that cure. That got thick fast. Shoot. Alright. Okay, I think that's salvageable. Alright. This, I'm just gonna need to add a smudge it, a bit of water to loosen that up. And then I need to find something to use this for. So once this starts getting thick, if you add a tiny bit of water to loosen it up, works wonders. I don't have a mold to put this in. So that left me with 2 ounces. I'm gonna pause this real quick and figure out what I'm gonna do with this extra. So I have this little dragon, tiny little dragon mold. Been meaning to want to use it, so I might need to add a little more water. And this sucker has some serious detail in the photos. I haven't used this yet, so I don't know how well it's gonna look. We are about to find out. Add a little more water, because I want this to loosen up a bit. That's better. I still have a lot more. Ooh, careful, you don't make a mess. See, the stuff gets thick fast. That in there, that's perfect. I wasn't planning on doing that, but oh well. And then I have another dragon one, a little tiny. I already see this is getting thick, and it's already been a couple of minutes. Well, guess I'm using a unicorn. It's gonna be a pink one. So the powder, I'm gonna just do, I don't know, that flour looks like it'd be a little bigger. I think I'm just gonna do the 3 ounces for the flour. Oh yeah, that's right, I had to pick this up off the table. Oh, look at that, came right off, just like frosting. Let's see, what do I have for unicorn mold? Oh, we're gonna have a nice little pink unicorn. Yeah, I'm definitely only going to do the 3 ounces. If I don't get enough, I don't get enough. Maybe I'll try to make a fancy design with the other one. That out. Good couple smackies. Alright, I'm going to clean this out and I'll be back to do the other candle. Alright, I got that all cleaned out. I'm only doing the 3 ounces this time because that was a bit much. Now, I don't like wasting anything, and if I don't have molds on hand, or at least enough molds on hand to put it in, I don't want to like waste it. Now this stuff is very easy to work with, and I do mean very easy to work with, but you can go through it quite quickly if you are not careful. Alright, let's do the 1 ounce. That's a little more than 1 ounce, but that's fine because this is very forgiving. So this is actually labeled as beginner friendly. So if you're gonna play with resin or something like resin and you have resin molds, but you don't get along with the epoxy resin very well and you want to try something else, this would be really good. If you're good with candles, that's even better because you can turn this stuff into candle holder vessels. I do want to make some candles straight with the molds. That would be fun. We'll see how that goes. All right, that's mixed up pretty good. Now this is Blossom Pearl and it's from Marbles. I've mentioned this company in the past. I used to have them in tiny little jars, but they used to leak like crazy. I had one explode on me, so basically you shut the door too hard and the top popped off. So I put them in new containers, but I will have this linked below. I want to put a decent amount, but I don't want to use all that. Now, this is supposed to be pearl. I am not too sure this is going to be very pearly. And whether or not this is going to mix. I mean, it seems to be mixing fine. I've had some glitter-like powders not mix very well in liquid at all. Had one float to the top and one float to the bottom because I was trying to mix two different micas in, and let's just say it wasn't a very favorable result. Let's put a little bit more in there because again, it's super light. I really do like these pigments from Marbles, the mica powders. They're a very nice mica powder. You can get a series for fairly inexpensive. Obviously they're not cheap, but they're very inexpensive and they're beautiful colors. I mean, in resin, this is freaking gorgeous. And I've used this pink for cherry blossom stuff. What I was kind of aiming for is a nice cherry blossom pink. This is still very light. I don't want to put too much in there. That was almost half the container. Well, let's just add a little more. Okay, I don't want to go any more than that. Of course, don't forget to scrape the ends, the walls, the bottom. Like I said, it likes to sink at the bottom. Make a powder off. That's a very light pink. But looks like already the pigments are going to be much better than the powders because the powders are going to get very pastel. There we go. Let's see if I made enough. Oh, I forgot to do that again. Darn it. Let's push that off to the side without spilling it. This is good once over and whoops. Oh, look at that. Perfect. So that took 3 ounces of powder. I think it's like 4 ounces total. Come on. Stupid air bubbles. Pop. There we go. That's the one it looks like. Gentle, sort of. I mean, obviously it doesn't look like I'm being gentle, but I am when I do that. And scrape out the rest of this. Look at that. Perfect. I'm going to let that set aside. It can be demolded in about a half hour, but I like waiting until at least an hour, if not 2. So I'm going to clean up this mess and I will be back to demold. Right, so the candle holders, or vessels I should say, are ready to be taken out of the mold. So we got all the extras. And I kind of want to do the extras first. I'm really curious to see how these look. And this is definitely going to need to get sanded down because I globbed a little bit on after and it definitely did not flatten because it got too thick. But let's see if I can get this out. Kind of cute. This would make a really good ornament. If I can just figure out how to put a little hook in there. Either got a bubble or it broke. The ear. I think it had a bubble. Hey, that's mine. Yeah, that's mine. Yeah, I'm gonna say it was a bubble. I think both ears got a little bubble, but it's still really cute. And then this is the other little dragon one. Again, would make a really good ornament. This one's got more bubbles. And that was a bit difficult to take out. It definitely had some bubbles in there. And it may have broken some of the prongs. So this might actually be better to use epoxy resin and let it completely cure. But that is another little... let's see if I can get this to focus. Little resin dragon ornament. Let's get it back. Yeah, I did break some stuff in there, did I? And then we have this unicorn. We used with the pink that I made way too much of. Let's get this out of here. The little ice cream. Looks like a little ice cream cone. And then I have these roses. Gotta be kind of gentle with this because I don't want to break any pieces. That's really pretty. Nice pretty roses. Look at those pretty roses, teams. You should cook boy sometimes. Again, a little cleanup. But I'm going to let that finish curing. And what I mean by finish curing, you got to let this sit at least 24 hours before doing anything with it. So after I demold this, tomorrow I will be sealing this because you even have to seal it before you put wax in it. And of course it's going to seem like 2 seconds for you, but it's going to be tomorrow for me. So I will definitely show you guys what this looks like and let it finish sitting until tomorrow. Nice, very simple, basic heart, nothing too complex. Flip that back. That's actually a really pretty pink. That pigment did a really good job at getting a nice, pretty, bright Valentine's pink. And this is the lid. Now I overfilled this, so it started getting a little hard when I put that in there. So I may need to sand this down. We will definitely see. This is going to be a pain in the butt. Here we go. Can I help my teams? Right, nice simple heart. Hey, you can't play with that. No eating the plaster. Hey, hey, hey. Jeez. Let's see. Yeah, it's not going to fit. Ghost. This is my beautiful kitty cat ghost. I may need to sand this down to get this to fit right, but it's not fitting right. So I don't know if it's because of the molds, but I will definitely have to figure that out. Anyways, I'm going to put this aside for a second, and we're going to take the flower out and see if the same issue is happening. Because it might be the mold thing. Can I help you, demon? No, I said you can't have that. Oh, there we go. All right. Now this came out very light. I do prefer the pigments over the mica powders. Still really pretty. Oh, you can see a tiny bit of the iridescence in it, but not much. And I didn't overfill the lid on this one, so we'll see if this one fits better. Actually, I probably didn't fill it enough, but we will see if there's enough of a lip to put on the top. Oh, wow. Got a little spotty. I don't know if you can see that. No, demon, you can't play. That fits perfectly, so I think I overfilled the heart. But nice little candle vessel. So I'm going to need to fix this heart one. Actually, that would be really cute. And that would be very much better. I also am going to probably test to see if I can get plaster resin to glue to the other plaster resin. Can I help you, demon? So, I will definitely be back when this is sat long enough to completely cure to seal it. And I'll show you what sealer I'm using. And then we have to let that dry. We have to do a couple of coats and then we have to let that dry. And then we're going to put the wicks and the wax in. And I think I am going to do pink and red. I have pink and red, so I'll show you how I do that. So I'll see you in that. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, we are back. It has been 24 hours. So this is nice and dry, and the flower fits quite nicely, but for some reason the heart doesn't fit too well. So I had to sand it down, and it fits a lot better. It kind of jiggles a little bit, but whatever. And then, of course, we have the flower for the top. Now, I do want to paint these. As to how I'm going to paint this one, I don't know. This is a very light pink. It almost looks gray. I don't like how this looks, but this one, I've already painted one. Of course, this one's a little more pink, but I want to paint it, the leaves, paint the edges with a nice color changing paint to give it a little more really cool effect. And then, of course, paint the bottom with that color changing paint. And then I'll probably do a color changing paint on this. And then we are going to glue this because I glued this. This still needs to be sealed. So I'm going to let this dry overnight and then seal it. But I used the E6000 glue to put this flower on. So I'm going to show you how I painted them. And then I'll glue the flower on, and then we'll get to that. So I'm going to start off with the rose, and I'm using color changing paint from Folk Art in, let's see, what is this? Aqua Flash and Green Flash. And you can get this at Hobby Lobby. Comes in a 4-pack with 2 other colors. In fact, here's the purple. It's called Purple Flash. And then this one is Blue Flash. So it's a nice 4-pack with 4 different color changing acrylic paints. Tried making my own paint, but yeah, that's not coming out too well. And then for the pink parts, this is an acrylic paint. Actually, I'm pretty sure this is an acrylic paint. It's an airbrush paint. I'm pretty sure it is acrylic, but it is color changing. And it works really nice. Oh, I don't want to do that one first. So we are going to do the leaves first. I have this nice silicone mat for the paint. I have a nice brush to paint with. I'm going to start with the Aqua Flash. I'm just going to put a little bit right on my silicone mat if it wants to come out. Oh, there we go. And then we are just going to paint the leaves. And again, thin coats. We are doing this in layers. And I am putting the entire leaf, this green, this aqua color, before I go over it with the green flash, just to try and cancel out some of that pink. So, I preferred to have done this in white, but I had all that extra pink. So I did all of them in pink. And it worked out fine. I'm not getting the bottom because we are gluing it and I don't want it to interfere with anything. While that's drying, I'm going to scoop this up and put it back in my bottle because this paint is not cheap. Actually, neither of these paints are cheap. I got some water. Towel. Make sure you clean your brush really well before going on to the next color or grabbing a new brush to start the next color. I only ever switch brushes when I'm trying to do a different effect. Alright, so this is not thick at all, it's very thin. And I'm only going to take out a couple of drops on here at a time. And just go around the edges carefully wherever I want. Feel like it needs a second coat, I can do that, but this is looking pretty good. Get my brush off again, and then grab the green. I also forgot to mention and of course show you what this pink looks like. Now you can also get this at Hobby Lobby, but this is in with the airbrush stuff, or I believe it is the die-cast cars. Those of you who are huge car collectors will know exactly what I'm talking about. And it came in a set of 5, but I'm missing 3 of them. And I think these 2 are the only ones that had a very like pigmented base. The other ones were more of a white that had a nice color changing effect on it. So kind of like the mica powder when you put it over, when you have like a white base versus a black base, it's gonna look different. I want to say it's kind of like gonna be that effect. Now that that's done, I'm gonna set this aside and let that dry, and I'm going to paint this. And we're just painting the bottom rim, so like right down here. Careful not to get it on the actual. Of course, if you ever have a hard time seeing what you're doing, get some better lighting. Angle your object that you're painting so you can see the reflection from the light, and you'll definitely see if you're missing anything. And if you feel like you need a second coat, you can definitely go over it. That's all we're doing for that. Now for this one, thinking of painting on the inside and then around the rim. I'm kind of curious to see how this paint's gonna look on here. can see that, but it's a nice pretty effect. Alright, now we're going to do the bottom, and then we are going to let this dry for 24 hours before we seal it. And once it's sealed, we can fill it with wax, but I am probably going to do that on another video because I don't want this to get too long. Alright, so that is that. If I had something I could stick here, like the roses, I mean, I could essentially stick the roses on there, but it looks a little weird to have roses on a flower. Doesn't belong. I mean, it is still pretty if I do decide to do that. I'm putting it on the heart because I think it's cuter on the heart. It's more sense. And so I'm going to do that now because I don't need to wait for that to dry for this because it's not... I didn't paint the bottom. So you're going to take your E6000 and you're going to put a nice glob right on the top. So there's a spot on this lid specifically that's very flat, and you're just going to put a glob right on that one spot. Nice heaping. And then shut that and then position this how you want it. Use this as my guide. Down a little bit. Now this is going to dry clear, but make sure you have it exactly where you want before you let this set. And once you do that, you're just going to let it dry. Looks about the same. Alright, so once this is done drying, we're going to seal it. And that'll be the end of the video for today. Like I said, on another video, we will fill the candles with wax. Alright, so I'll see you guys in a few. Alright, we are back. You want to get out of the way, Luna? And this has been sitting a little longer than 24 hours, but it's definitely dried enough to seal. Excuse my cat's head. Luna, you need to move. I didn't set up the video camera for you. I know, you think you're the star of everything. Hey, come on. Move out of the way. Move out of the way. He's so cute. So I know this isn't the one I normally said you should use, but this can be used on, it says Resin-Crete or 3D-Crete. It is a urethane sealer. It works really good. It's what I'm using now. It is a non-yellowing sealer that can be applied, like I said, to 3D-Crete. Alright, so you can also use this on tumblers too, by the way, to seal them in before you put resin on them. And of course, you have to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area when you're using any of these kind of sealers, whether it's acrylic or it's the other one I can't think of the name of. I will have it linked in the descriptions below, the one I'm using, and then obviously like what you're supposed to use to seal them. If you buy any of my stuff online, I am going to be having like instructions, especially for like doing like paint your own figurines, which I'll be adding more on as the years go on. I'll have little instruction cards eventually made up, but I'm not pouring any of this out. I'm just going to dip my brush in the container, and then we are just going to brush it on. A nice thin coat, and then you do need to let it fully dry before you add the second coat. I shouldn't say fully dry. You need to make sure it is at least dry to the touch before you can add your next coat on. So we're going to brush this right up the walls. Make sure you get every nook and cranny. You want to make sure no water or moisture is going to get into this, especially if you're going to be using these for candles. And I think I mentioned earlier that I am going to do candles in another video. I want to do that while I have a lot of them, because it is going to be a little harder to measure how much wax needs to go in here. definitely do a video on the wax. I also do need to move my camera to the kitchen because we are going to be doing this in my kitchen. So you also want to get the outside. You also need to remember that you don't want to touch it until it's dry. So I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom rim, and then I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to flip it upside down and do the bottom half. So I can actually physically touch this thing and move it around wherever I need to. And we're going to do that to the other one too, but I'm not going to do that on video. It's the same exact thing. I'm doing this one only because it's got this huge honking flower on it. That's going to be a little harder to do, whereas the other one, it's just simple flat top. You know, there's no major details to it, so I'm not too worried about that. And this dries really quick. I think it even says quick coat. So this actually doesn't take long to dry, so I'm going to let it sit here for a second. That's already dry. And I'm going to do the bottom. And then I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to do the second coat. Actually, I'm going to do the top while I'm letting it dry, and then we'll do the second coat. And you do need to do a nice, it does say a nice, thin, even layer. And you can do 2 to 3 coats, depending on what you're doing, how sealed you want it. I've gotten away with a few items with just 1 coat because I'm not too worried about it. And, well, actually, I think that was the only thing I did that for was my niece's figurines that I made her for her birthday. She painted them, and I think I just gave them 1 coat. But all the other stuff I've gone at least 2 coats on, if not more. All right, so I'm going to move that aside. I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to do the roses. And you want to make sure you get in, again, every nook, every cranny, and there is a little gap underneath because these weren't exactly meant for the heart. So you actually want to get right under there, make sure that gets sealed. The glue is holding on really well. I mean, I can obviously you don't want to get rough with it, purposely get rough with it, but you can essentially get right in there and get rough and move it around. It's not going anywhere. That's dry. Now we're going to do the bottom. Now we're going to switch out and do the base again. Now for a smell, this isn't very strong scented. Not like the acrylic sealers, like the Mod Podge. You're going to smell that for days. Until you get it out of your area, you're going to smell that for days. I sprayed a bunch in my office to seal some stuff, and let me tell you, it took a while for that stuff to air out. So this is actually less odor than the Mod Podge or the, Rust-Oleum. And I've tried those two. I personally like this one better because, like I said, less odor. It works way faster than the Mod Podge or the Rust-Oleum. Means I can get through my projects a lot faster. And that is how you seal them. The mica powder and the pigment, they're pretty much going to be the exact same. They're not going to affect the sealer by any means, because you can use that sealer on either or, and I totally did not put that on the right side. Crap. Let's reseal that bottom. So I'm going to let this set for 24 hours before I put wax in it. Again, I will be doing that in another video because I want to make sure I have enough of these to do all at once. So this video is supposed to be just a comparison between the pigment that you can get in some of the resin plaster kits and how they were going to look and react. So everything else, like the acrylic, is going to be the same thing as the sealer. It's going to act the same. But as you can see, the powders look very different, and you had to use a lot. Do you mind? In order to pigment the powder or the plaster. Whereas the pigments that you get in these kits, that are meant for these work way better. They also mentioned that you can use acrylic paint as a pigment. I haven't tried that yet. I will probably test that theory out in another video, so you definitely look out for that. And that is it for this video today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like what you saw, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. Of course, don't forget to click the bell. It'll let you know when I post new videos. And of course, check out, the Etsy shop. You can buy pretty much almost anything you see me make on these videos. And of course, check out my website for more merchandise like sweatshirts, shoes, other seasonal items, blankets. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Blessed be. Bye.